Today, I want to talk about one of the most interesting stories in US real estate right now, and that's the rise of office to apartment conversions. For years, a lot of people looked at office vacancy and housing shortages as two separate problems. One problem was empty or underused office buildings, especially in downtown areas that never fully returned to pre 2020 patterns. The other problem was not having enough housing, especially in places where affordability is still strained and new development is difficult, expensive, or slow to deliver. What's happening now is that those two problems are starting to collide in a way that's creating opportunity. At the start of 2026, the pipeline of office to apartment conversion projects in the US reached roughly 90,300 units. That was up 28% year over year. That is not a small experimental niche anymore. That is a real trend with national weight behind it. And when you look at the cities leading this movement, it becomes even more interesting. New York has the biggest pipeline. Washington, D.C. is near the top. Chicago is also one of the major leaders. Those are important signals because they tell us this trend is showing up in large urban markets where the balance between office demand, housing demand, and public policy really matter. So why is this happening? First, the office sector has changed. There are still great office buildings doing very well, especially newer, higher quality buildings with strong amenities. But a lot of older commodity office buildings are under real pressure. In many markets, tenants have become more selective. Hybrid work changed space needs. Companies downsized. Some buildings simply became less competitive. Second, housing demand has not gone away. In many cities, there is still not enough housing, especially in walkable urban locations near jobs, transit, restaurants, and established infrastructure. So when city developers look at an aging office building with high vacancy, they're increasingly asking a different question. Instead of asking, how do we refill it with office space? They're asking whether it should become something else. That's where adaptive reuse comes in. From the real estate perspective, office to apartment conversion is compelling because it can create value in places where traditional office demand may not recover enough to support the asset. It can also bring residents into downtown districts that need more life after business hours. When more people live downtown, that has implications for retail, food and beverage, services, transportation, and overall urban vibrancy. This matters for more than just developers. If you're a residential agent, you should care because conversion projects can create new inventory, new neighborhoods of interest, and new client conversations around downtown living. If you're a commercial broker, you should care because some office buildings that once looked like distressed problems may become redevelopment opportunities. If you're involved in land use, lending, or city planning, this trend is even more important because it sits right at the intersection of policy, economics, and urban design. Now, with all that said, not every office building is a good candidate for conversion. And this is where the real estate side of the conversion gets more nuanced. A building has to work physically. Floor plates matter. Window lines matter. Access to light, mechanical systems, they matter. The building core matters. Some office buildings are simply too deep, too awkward, or too expensive to retrofit efficiently into apartments. Then you have the financial side. Conversion costs can be significant. Interest rates matter. Construction costs matter. Incentives, they matter as well. Historic tax credits, abatements, zoning relief, and public-private partnerships can make a difference between a deal that works and one that never leaves the drawing board. CBRE has pointed to local incentives as a major factor helping conversions move forward, especially in DC. That is why this trend is very market-specific. Some cities are going to be much better positioned for office conversions than others. The best markets tend to have a combination of high office vacancy in older buildings, strong housing demand, supportive local government, and locations where residents actually want to live. If a building is downtown but the surrounding area still lacks street life, services, or safety perception, that can make the story harder. If a building is in a vibrant district with transit, restaurants, and a real lifestyle component, then the opportunity gets stronger. There's another angle here that I think the real estate professional should pay close attention to, and that is how the trend changes the identity of downtown areas. For decades, many downtowns were built around the idea that people commute into work and then leave. Office to apartment conversion is part of a larger shift away from that model. It points towards downtowns that are more residential, mixed use, and with around-the-clock character. That matters because real estate follows behavior. If a downtown becomes more residential, then retailers adjust, restaurants adjust, investors adjust. Public investment priorities, they adjust as well. Even the language agents use to market the area starts to change. So when you hear about office to apartment conversions, do not think of it as just a construction story. Think of it as a city shaping story. My takeaway is this: some of the most important real estate opportunities over the next several years may not come from building entirely new projects. They may come from repositioning older product that no longer fits current demand. And office conversions are one of the clearest examples of that. This is a trend worth following in your market. Watch which buildings are being studied. Watch which cities are offering incentives. Watch where housing demand and office distress overlap. Because where those conditions come together, real estate professionals may start seeing entirely new forms of opportunity.